Just me and my guitar.
Hey, what's happening guys? Mark back here at Mark's Aquatics. On today's episode we're going to be making a little rear filtration system for this trickle filter, okay? Because what I want to do is I want to cut this not as a square box to go in the back like that. Let me just turn you sideways a minute. I want to actually cut this at a slight angle, so I'm going to cut it down maybe a 45 degrees and then come up here. Now we've already got our rear here, so we don't need to put another piece at the back. So we just want to go down the amount that I want to go down, which is going to be about 2 inches. I don't want to go down much further than that, or we're going to be losing a bit of height from the tank. But that's one of the reasons why I built this extra high, is because it's going to house this rear filter system in the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a surround, a lip that goes around here like that, out of black as well, and the lid's going to be out of black as well. So we're not going to be able to see the trickle filter, because I'm going to make it the same level as this piece that's going to run across here and around the side. So all this is going to be hidden under the lid, which is going to be quite good, and we're going to get some decent filtration. Like I said in one of the other videos that I made, the trickle filter, the first one that I made up, I put on the other shrimp tank, which is over on the bench at the other end, and that is working out of this world. It really is. Best little filter I've ever come up with, and works absolutely. It's mint. The water is pristine in that tank. Everyone's super healthy, breeding like crazy, and with the other plants and things in there, which we'll go into later on, because we're going to try and fit all these things into here and make it a super little shrimp tank, which is going to be quite easy for you guys to replicate if you've got a bit of DIY knowledge. And if you haven't, I could always make one for you. How about that? Cost you a fortune, mine. Anyway, well, yes, I'm going to make this 45 degrees. I'm going to go down about, let me get the old tape measure out. I reckon we're going to need about 2.5 inch. I want to keep that about there. That'll give us a nice foot square viewing window all the way around, and everything's then is going to be hidden, I think, nicely in the top. So what I've got to do now is get this perspex or acrylic, or whatever you call this stuff these days. There comes thousands of different names this stuff's called, and measure what I need. Now I'm going to be using the circular saw, guys, on this build, but they're very noisy. I'll try and muffle out the noise for you. I'll record some of the cuts, but I've got a hoover going on this for the extraction and from the dust and shaving particles, which are going to get sucked down into the hoover, as well as the machine as well. It's quite loud, so I won't put you through that. I'll mess around with my little editor and see if I can find a way to actually mute that part out. I'm sure it's on there if I look hard enough. Right, what we're going to need across the back, on the inside, because we're going to have to glue this in the same way as we glued the tank, so it's going to be quite a perfect fit. Now I'm actually going to make that 286. Yes, 286 mil we're going to go for, internal measurement there. Right, I'll pause you for a minute. I'll set this saw up and I'll show you how I set this jig up, okay? Okay guys, I'll put the rip fence on now, which is here. And what I tend to do when I measure things and cut things is I just put that across there. I've just used the tape measure then to the blade to get what measurement I want. Right, I'll try and move this down slightly now. And I just shore it up with the gauge along the front here as well, just to measure twice before we cut. Now it's only going to be a small part, because these sheets I've cut down smaller and had some other bits kicking about. I'm just going to take now a slither off of there. Right, and as always guys, safety glasses on when you're using power tools. If you're sensible, you'll wear them, and always use a push stick as well, alright? Never get your hands anywhere near the blade. I mean, I'm going to keep one probably over here to keep it level on the fence this side, but then on this side I'm going to keep it square by pushing through. Now when you cut acrylic, don't push it fast, let it just cut through nice and slow at its own pace, or you can chip it. This blade is capable of cutting through mild steel, through copper, through wood, through aluminium, a multitude of different things, and that's why I got it, because I'm DIY mad. I got this so it'll cope with all the things that I need it to, and they're absolutely amazing little saws, they really are. Right, so what I've got to do now is got to fire up the hoover, fire up the saw, put your hands over your ears if you don't like noise, and here we go. Always let the blade stop first guys before you start messing around with things, for obvious reasons. Then you can slide your piece of acrylic out, and there you go, we've got a nice little stick thin piece there now, which we can use on another part of the build if we want to make any little lid supports or anything like that, which I'm sure I'm going to do. I can keep that for that side there. Right, we got our piece now, that's the width that we want. And now what I need to do, I said I was going to do it 3 inches. So we're going to bring that fence in again. Always make sure you're careful with this guys, even though it's got a protective film on. You can see how it's scratched up there just from being in transit. Not very good. But it's going to be okay underneath, hopefully. That bit was badly scratched up. And now we can turn it this way, and we should be all right now this way to move that across nice and safe without having our fingers anywhere near that blade. And like I've said before, I know I harp on about this stuff guys, but these things do not know the difference between flesh, wood and acrylic and all that and bone, and it will just take your hand off in a nanosecond. You'll be like that or worse, and we don't want that. And I would hate to see any of you without your fingers next time you email me saying I lost all my fingers on a circular saw, because I'll tell you I told you so. Be very, very careful. Now these things, if you push too quick, they can jump, they can grab, they can snatch things, they can smash this if it hits it too quick. If you push it in too quick like that, those teeth will come down, especially on a bigger saw. This is quite a fine tooth saw, this one, but on a bigger tooth saw, which you shouldn't use on acrylic anyway, but just to tell you, if you're going to go in and always use a fine saw. Anything with like 100 teeth is going to be better, because you're going to get a lot finer cuts, and it's going to be less time you're going to be larking about polishing up and sanding these edges down, so you get a good fixing when you cement the joints up. So make sure you don't ever push it in fast, because it will just smash into it, shatter this piece of acrylic, because that is spinning at a right rate of knots. It really is. And like I've always said guys, if you're young, please go and ask your parents if your dad's got one of these, or your mum's even got one of these in the workshop. Go and ask her first, or your dad first, to come and show you how to use one properly, because we don't want any accidents. Right, let me get this one cut now. Little rub on the sandpaper, just take those high little bits off, just that little bit of teeth score in there. We'll remove a bit of that. Okay, now we've got our piece cut off like that. Right guys, we've got our piece cut now. I'm trying out a little microphone today, look, so you can hear me a bit better, because I'm always bending around and doing stuff and my voice goes all over the place. Right, we've got our little piece there cut now, exactly how we want it. Now that piece there I've cut exactly to fit, so it just grips itself in there, you see. Now this one I want to go right to the back with, and I want the base of that to be, I want the top of it to be, sorry, 2 inches down. 2 inches down, I'm just doing this rough, and I want that to be 3 inches to the top there. Which is about right. Now, so we're going from 2 to 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring an acrylic rod up through here, then we're going to have a spray bar going along the top, and this is going to be full of media, so we can glue this piece around here, and around here. Now that's just going to stay as is there with that nice inch fall, so everything that goes down angles down, and we should get a nice little blade of water coming off the front here then, which will give us a nice adequate flow in the tank, because we don't want any dead spots in the tank, because that's what creates problems, creates detritus build up, then your phosphates go up, your nitrates go up, and you end up with problems, and we don't want any of those in a shrimp tank, because we've got to keep that water spot on for them. So that one's fine now the way it is, obviously not glued in place yet, but like again, it's the old capillary action glue. I'll take all this covering off before I do that, and we can run a little bead around just nicely to glue it in place. Now I need another piece of that sheet at 3 inches, because I'm going to make like a basket now. So this next piece that I cut, if you can imagine, it's going to slide down there like that. I know that was going to do that. And that's going to be up there like that, and we're going to have a very, very fine gap there, as you can see it, very fine, and that's where our water is going to exit from there, and then this is going to be glued up. So we've made like a basket. I'll just try and turn it to the side for you without it falling apart. There goes my tape measure, perfect. But you can see now what I'm on about. You've got that inch fall, that piece up there. We're going to put all our media in here. Our spray bar is going to go across there. If you get any little scratches, guys, on your tank, don't worry about it, because acrylic is amazing stuff. You can just polish it out. I have given it a little scram there, but not to worry, we can soon get rid of that. So that's, now you can see what I'm going for. That's what it's going to be like before the lid comes over. So we're going to have that nice full of media all the way around. We're going to get a lovely shower going on there, and then we can put a nice piece of filter floss underneath that spray bar. That'll catch all that sediment first, and then that nice clear water will go down and then cascade straight out of there into our tank. Okay, so that's what we're going for. I need a bigger workshop. Maybe when I'm a rich YouTuber, hey, you never know, eh? You never know. I'll be able to get myself an extension on the workshop. So that's what we're going for. So I'm going to cut this off now at 3 inches. Because then we're going to have... Where's my tape? Oh, I threw it on the floor, didn't I? There you go. Yes, because we said about 3 inches for that covering, so we'll make it just over 3, which will give us a nice black bar, nice black lid around there like that. You can make these to, this is just the spec I'm making mine to, but obviously you can go up as high as you want. You can make them as big or as long or as wide, as deep, whatever you like. The sky's the limit with tanks, and money of course. I need just over a 3-inch piece of this now, so I'll move all this out of the way again. Whack the old fence back on the right way. Pop that on there. I always measure to the saw teeth. That gives you an accurate... If you measure on a sheet, it's different. Don't forget, when you've got a blade, here's a little tip for you. Where you've got a blade, this is a very small, narrow blade, but because some blades have got teeth, like on a teeth on a saw, they're set like that, aren't they, all the way down. Okay, so that gives you the cut as you go in. Each blade, each side, it'll cut, but then it clears itself on the way out. That's why if they were straight and flat like that, they'd jam up. That's why when you cut, you're actually cutting out about 2 mil. So what you want to do, when you put your saw and your fence up to your saw, always measure what you want your distance to be. Like I want just over 3 inches. Always measure to the inside of the tooth, because that is always slightly a bit further out than the actual blade itself, if you see what I mean. The teeth on the blade are angled slightly, so they cut and clear the debris away. So there's a little trick for you, okay? And then you'll get a tidy cut the first time round, and then when you put it in, if you measured 3 inches there on that, you'd cut through, but then you'd be cutting through, say, 1/2 mil either side of that, so you wouldn't be exactly where you want it to be. Right. Here we go, there's our next bit cut. All nice and how it should be. So I love being in a workshop. Absolutely love it. Brought up on a very small island back in the Channel Islands. Not from Wales originally. Moved here about 15 years ago. Like I've said before, guys, if you're happy with what you've got, you're the richest man in the world. You really are. Right, there's that piece in there now. And then when that bottom piece is in, and you can lift him up, that'll stop our media from falling out, but it's going to cradle it all nicely. And we've got to glue that in place. So we've got to take this one out again now. Now before you glue it, if you can see there, you've got the saw marks on there. Now what I use is I get a piece of sandpaper. You can see me in the corner there. Put it on there. Hold it nice and square. And just go back and just slide it back and forward very carefully, okay? Keeping that nice and flat as you go. And then when you sand it back, you can see you've got a lovely edge there now, which is going to stick perfectly onto the side of that. You've got all them teeth marks out. Now I go over all these edges before I glue them up. Just lightly on the saw, get all them saw marks out. It's really imperative you do that on the edges of these guys, okay, because obviously if you've got a scratch, and this is only the water sort of solution glue, so it's very, very thin, and you get that capillary action where it sucks it in, but you can use like a gel, which is a little bit thicker, and you can pop it up, and you can use what's called the pin method, where if you're going to glue that piece onto there, okay, just lift it up and you put a pin there and a pin there. You put your glue along the joint first, okay? You put a bit of glue along your joint there first, stick a pin down into it, then you leave it for a time, then that will start to soften this up here, and then what you do is you apply it together slowly, hold it in place, extract the pins out which you're holding them apart, and then press down and stick it together. That's another way of doing it, and it's a best way to do it if you're doing a big tank, because you really want to make sure, obviously, because there's going to be a lot of pressure in there, that is stuck perfectly together. Because if you got, anyway, like I was saying, that's another method of doing it, but you make sure there's no saw marks in any of these little lines down here. It should look clear. It should look clear, like one piece all the way down like that. I don't know if you can see it there in that reflection, but there's no score marks in that at all, and we're all looking good. So now what we're going to do, we're going to glue this piece in place, so we can take this off. I love taking this peeling off. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. One thing I love about acrylic, it's like a mirror. Do order acrylic, guys, make sure, I mean, I can't really do, I've cut all this now, I probably won't do anything, but there's an example for you. Look how scratched that is. That's scratched completely through that protective layer on the back. That bit's okay, but that bit is scratched very badly. I'm lucky because I can put it in that way, but that's not the point. They should have been careful before they posted it. When it comes in a pre-wrap thing full of sponge on it, bubble wrap around it, but then they put it in the packet and it's already been scratched, so there's not a lot of point doing that really. I'll just look at the other sheets. There you are, look, there's another sheet from another piece that I ripped down yesterday, another piece of black. But as you can see, that's how, when it comes to you, it should look. You shouldn't, I mean, you're going to get scrapes on it, but if it's gone through that, just take a picture of it, send it back and get another piece. As he clouts the tank with it. Right, so that's what you want it to look like that and not scratched up. So we've got our piece now. That can go on the inside because it's going to get scratched up by media anyway, so that's not to worry. So we got to lock that in place where we want it. There's our nice little ramp coming off the front. And we get our other piece. Which I hope isn't as bad as the last one. Yeah, that's got a nice big scratch across that as well, look. But yet again, I'm lucky in the respect we can carry on building because the other side's okay, which we can put on the outside. Now this bottom bit's going to move again in a minute, probably. Maybe not. That little bit of sanding works, you see. Right, let me take this around this way now. Now you can see what we're going for. We've got a nice little pocket in there which we can put loads of media in. We can stack it all up nicely along there, make a nice little trickle all the way through it, and then it's going to come out of there back into our tank. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to pause you for a minute. I'm going to sand all these edges up nice and smooth before we glue them, making sure everything's right, and then we'll get them glued in place. Right guys, I've just gone ahead and glued this one in place. Okay, so I was having a little bit of trouble there with my trying to do things here. Now this piece here, we're going to slip in amongst that. Bear with me, I'm just going to stick the old mic on again. I gave it about 10 minutes for that to dry. It's going to be about 4 hours before it really chemically bonds together, so we got no worries. Now when I'm going to put this, because I want a blade of water coming out of there, I've got to keep that just off. So what I've done is I've cut some bits of airline, bear with me, and I'm just going to now put those, one of those on each corner like that. Now that's going to keep that off the ground, off the other piece of acrylic there, about, I'd say, a couple of mil. That's all we want. We don't want much more than that. So now when we put that inside, it's going to keep that off just where we, I'll try that again, shall I? We're going to pop that in there, get it to where we want it to go. And then make sure we're all happy where it is. And we're going to get our little syringe again. What we're going to do, we're just going to come on the top this time and let that capillary action, I don't know if you can see there guys, can you? I'll try and turn it to the side without it all falling apart. And at least that way now you can see, hopefully, get that nice and level with the top, and then get your glue, and you can see it running down. Now if you just put a little spot on there first, each side, let that soak its way down. Anywhere that you want to move is the time to do it now, okay? That looks pretty spot on to me. Just get my little tape measure and measure. Okay, we got 80 there, and we got 80 there, so that's spot on. Right guys, now we've got to leave that now for a good 10 minutes to let that stick and start to bond together. Right, we'll be back in 10 minutes when that's glued up. Right guys, it's the next day, and all this is dried up lovely now. We've got a lovely solid back filter there now, which we can fill with our media. I'm waiting for the postman to turn up, so we can get some acrylic tube. Hopefully that'll come, the pump will come, and other bits and bobs will come. You can see how that works now on the side. All that's going to be filled with media, like I said before. Spray bar is going to come up through here, run along here, and then we spray down there, and then everything's going to just come straight out there. The mist come out there from the glue itself, which is not to worry, because all we're going to do is we'll polish all these things out later on. You're going to get some of these. If you look this side, I'm not sure if you can see that there, but we got lots of little scratches there, and you can thank Lemon for that. He decided to go and play on top of the tank, and he scratched his little claws all over it, the little monkey, so I've got to polish them out now as well. I don't know, never work with kids or animals, they say. I think it's true. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to put a black trim around there. We can put this trim around to hide this filter. So I want to come down level with the base and just go around with a nice little surround and keep that. I mean, it's just entirely up to you whether or not you want to see that black background, because I mean, if you were looking through it, you're going to see it like that, but I'd rather see it. The way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to actually take that around, and we're going to have a nice narrow lid on the top as well, okay, to stop any evaporation and things coming out as we go along. But I think I'll put a nice little strip around there. I've got lots of this acrylic left. Obviously that's cut to the internal dimensions, so that's not going to fit. But I've got 2 more sheets, and I've got some more bigger bits that I can cut down later on. I cut this down because I was going to make 2 tanks of a very similar size. Well, exactly the same size to be honest, but different style filtrations. But I'll see how these go first. So what we want to do is we want to just cut some. It's going to look like, it's just going to cut that viewing panel down, but I want to keep that because I want to light the back, you see. I want to get that lovely light box effect coming through there with the LEDs to give me that nice sunset when we do the rock work, and the scape in there should look really good. Right guys, we've got those 3 bits cut now. Didn't want to take you through all that noise again. So I've cut 2 pieces, 3.5. That's just going to drop down now just below. But I don't want to butt joint these up like that, because I just think it looks a little bit more untidy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nice little 45-degree cut on the end of these. So I'm going to mitre them so they're going to go nicely on the edge, and we're going to have a nice corner instead of just a blunt end on that. We're going to have a nice corner. So I've made tanks like this before where I've mitered every edge. You do get a bigger gluing surface that way, but I thought just to be different and show you something different as well. Right, I've set the saw at 45 degrees that way, and I've put on my little slider which slides that way. Now what I've got to do is angle that just across the end like that, and just nip off that very end, and that'll take it off that 45-degree angle. Now I'm going to try and squash in there and show you it being done, so block your ears if you don't like noise again. And I'll take my mic off and put it over here just so it'll keep the noise down a little bit. Right, let's go. Okay, that's all sorted out now. See, now we've got a really nice beveled edge on there. So now when I cut the other piece, I just cut this one. I could have cut this shorter, but I thought I'd cut it just so I could just show you. Now, when they go together, you get that really nice 90-degree angle now with our 45-degree cut through it, and we get a really nice edge to go around our tank. So now I've got to do one of those on each end, and then the corresponding ones on the sides. Okay, so I'll get back to you when I've done those. Right, that's those bits cut now. Now we can take off the that backing layer to reveal that lovely shiny acrylic underneath. And then we can get gluing. Yeah, like I said before, we got the front section there now, and that will just nicely lock together on that 90-degree angle like that. And we got a nice bonding area there, and it's also adding strength to the tank as well. So we got those three nice bits ready to go on. Temperature's not too bad in the workshop here, so I'll set the tank up again and we'll glue these bits on. Right guys, I've lined that up now on the top exactly where I want it with the uprights. So we've got that nice little 45 coming off of there, and it's completely flush now with the inside. Now I'm just going to use the old glue again, capillary action as usual. Well, first of all, I'm just going to hold it there, and I'm just going to squeeze a tiny little bit in along the front there, and I can see it being drawn in from underneath. Which is perfect. And then we can leave it like that and let that piece go off, and then we can reverse it, then we can turn it up that way, and we can put some in around the base as well. But while you're doing it, always put your side pieces up, just eyeball them up just to make sure they're still spot on before it goes off, because it doesn't take too long to grab a hold of this stuff. Sorry if my head's in the way, but then that's brilliant. That's all spot on now where I want it to be. So we can let that go off, put the kettle on, and I'll come back when it's all dry and we'll put the sides on, and then that's another part of the build done, guys. Right, I've glued the front panel on, guys, and I've glued the bottom panel on there. Don't know if you can see a little bit of glue just there on the base. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get my big jug of hydrogen peroxide there, put that over there to stop it scratching it, and then just apply that bit of pressure on the top of there. That keep everything nice and even. And then again, add a little bit of the old glue, very slowly, and that's just getting drawn straight into there. You can see it getting sucked in. And you don't need much. A little goes a long way with these tanks. And that's being sucked now right the way through that sheet to the other side. And now I'll just do the same on the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see that going in. That's being drawn right the way across. You might see it more the other side in a minute. as I go along. See that being sucked in? That's what you want. You can give it a little squeeze and that will cover that entire base. I'm just going to get a little bit more. And like I say, by adding this around here, you're adding extra strength to the top of the tank as well. That's all lovely stuck in there now. And you can just go over any little joints. Right, squeeze the rest of that glue back into the pot. Put that there. Coffee time now. Let that stick up nice and tight for a couple of hours. And then we'll be back. Right guys, we are back again. Let me just adjust this slightly. There you go. Right, that's been stuck down now for a good hour, I'd say. So we can remove all these bits and all the cloths. And we can stand him up. So that's what we're looking like now without the lid. As you can see now, looking through the side, you can't see that rear filtration system anymore because it's all inside. And we've covered all that now with this black, which looks really good, I think. Coming along well. I'm still thinking about maybe trimming the base with a little bit. Really nice and solid that is now, and coming along well. Right, I think that's where we're going to take it today. I'm going to leave that. Nothing else has come in the post as yet, so I'll leave this one as it is. I'm going to take this back into the house now, which will let that cure properly, and I'll probably get some very fine. I'll tell you what's a really good idea, guys, to use on these edges around the top here. Now I've got a router, so I can route these all off nice and level. But if you haven't got one, just get a sandpaper with some fine sandpaper on a block, and be really careful, but just keep going along on a block that way and that way, and just smoothing off all them edges and getting rid of them saw marks as best as you can. You don't have to get them all out 100%, but if you're patient, you'll get them all out, and then later on we'll put the blow lamp around there and we'll flame polish all these edges, which will smooth them all out really nice. Same with the edges there. You can even use, and I've used it before, is a nail file, a very fine nail file, and just go really lightly across the edges there, because these edges are quite sharp, and it will just take these edges off and you'll smooth them up, obviously being careful. Or you can run some tape, painter's tape, masking tape around here to stop you scratching the face, because you don't want to be scratching that. So it only takes a little touch with acrylic to scratch it. So you can take all these edges off and make them look all tidy. So there we are. We've got a solid little tank now, coming along well. Happy with it so far. Hope you've enjoyed the second part of the build. Hope you're planning on trying this yourself and giving it a go, because like it ain't difficult with this thinner acrylic. And when you double up on these, you can make them really strong. That's never going to bow with any water in there, not with that extra piece around the top. With the filter in the back there, it's really stuck everything nice and tight together, and 5 mils plenty for this sort of size tank. If you're going to make anything bigger, wider or deeper, I'd go 10 mil, maybe from 10 to 12, just to be on the safe side. But for this size tank, I think anyone should give it a go and make your own tank to your own specifications, and then really enjoy yourself doing it. Because there's nothing better than going back afterwards and looking at a tank and someone says, "Oh, where did you get that from?" And you can say, I made that. And they'll go, never. I say, yeah, I made that myself. And the old chest goes out. So you give it a go. And you can polish it all up later on. That stuff will polish up lovely, it will. When we get it all done. And we can get our lighting in the back. We can make a nice little lid for it on the next. I'm going to put the lighting in next time. Okay, we're going to make a lid for this. We're going to hinge it at the back. We're going to put a built-in light into this as well. Okay, and everything's going to look tidy. And we're going to make it look good. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Mark's Aquatics on the acrylic tank part 2 build. If you're new to the channel, pop back and have a look at some of the other videos that I've done. It might encourage you to subscribe to the channel. And as always, you're all stars. Love you loads. Take care. And I'll see you on the next episode of Mark's Aquatics. Bye for now. Go on, make one. Hey.
Just me and my guitar.